And the murti of Vishnu Durga here appears here every festival. She comes from Canada, from a town called St. Catharines, from her Peetam for the festival, and then after the festival she returns back. The Utsavar of Armuhaswami Subramanya was made by Masiramani Stabadi in Chennai, and he is worshipped during Skanda Sashti regularly. This is Pujya Sri Madhiyoli Saraswati Devi, identified by no less a personality than Pujya Sri Paramacharya Chandrasekharendra Saraswati Swamigal of Kanchipuram, a living embodiment. She has been involved in the construction of the temple from the beginning. She performed the Bhumi Puja for this temple. And Shiva Nataraja, manufactured or made by Rajan Stabadi in Kumbakonam, and arrived at the temple unexpectedly from another temple. And then we added the Sivakama Sundari for him. In front of him are the Nalvar, 4 of them. Trinjana Sambandar, Appar Swamigal, Sundaramurti Swamigal, and Manikavachagar. Now the stomach of the Devi here, I told you, is the Navagrahas. The Navagraha murtis were made by Sri Ramalinga Sthapati in Swamimalai, and this happens to be a unique piece. They have all the elements that are mentioned in the Skanda Puranam and are installed exactly as per the instructions in Skanda Puranam also. The Bhairavar also was sculpted by Sri Rajan Sthapati in Kumbakonam, and in front of him there is a Rasalingam, a Merkarishva Lingam, mounted on top or installed on top of a Sri Yantram. This Bhairava receives 3 pujas every day, like the rest of the deities. And the lamps in the temple, the 6-foot high lamps in the temple, also were made by Ramalinga Sthapati, and they are made of bronze. They are not brass lamps. The temple itself, where you are standing, used to be an Ashwa Sala. Horses lived, and a Goshala, where cows lived. According to Tantra Shastra, this kind of a location is very desirable for building a Devi temple. Today happens.
Shrimatre Namaha. Namaskaram everyone, and welcome back to our Sacred Rites and Rituals of Sanatana Dharma Learning Series, which is a joint presentation by the Sri Vidya Temple Society of Rochester, New York, USA, and Ashtanga Yoga Mandir of Sri Lanka. These lectures are conducted by Sri Chaitanyanandanatha, affectionately known as Ayya. Ayya is the founder and Pitadipati of the Sri Vidya Temple. For more than 40 years, Ayya and Amma, Srimati Nyanamba, have opened their hearts, their home, and the temple to all devotees who wish to worship the Divine Mother and take up the sacred path of Devi Upasana. Every year, a special homam in honor of Sri Madangi Devi is held at the Sri Vidya Temple. Madangi is a form of Saraswati Devi, and like Saraswati, she blesses her devotees with excellent mental and intellectual abilities. The real specialty of this homam is that it's the kids who get the chance to organize, run, and participate in the homam itself. This Sunday, our temple will be conducting the Madangi homam for children ages 6 to 21. Please visit our temple website or call the temple for more information on how you can get involved. Just a note, we will not be having our yoga session for today, as well as a few housekeeping reminders before we begin today's session. Please use the question form to share any questions you might have pertaining to the content discussed. For those viewing our live stream, our question form can also be found on our website, which is srividya.org/AYM-lectures. At this time, we will hand it over to Ayya to begin today's session.
Ham Soham Absaha Hasakafrem Hasakshamalavarayum Hasaum Sahakshamalavarayim Sahau Swarupa Nirupana Hetave Swagurave Sri Annapurnambika Sameda Srila Sri Amrutanandanada Saraswati Mahapattaraka Sri Guru Sri Padukam Pujayami Tarpajami Namaha. My humble pranams to my esteemed Guruji, Srila Sri Amrutanandanada Saraswati of Devipuram, India. I prostrate before him and beseech him to sit on my open heart lotus and speak through me. Namaskaram, everyone. We began to see some interesting facts about Abhishekam in a temple. And so far, we have covered how the Abhishekam is to be prepared and what needs to be done before the exposition of the murti to the public, which seems to be the style these days. Although in the ancient days, nobody was permitted to see the Abhishekam, and the priests who were conducting it did it behind closed doors, and after Alankaram, they would open the doors so that the people can take a look at the murti. These have changed in the last 150 years, and except in some temples, which still adhere for various reasons, that the public should not see the Abhishekam, the other temples have opened. They have opened their doors so people can watch the Abhishekam. And even in those temples, Abhishekam has to be done first with perfumed water, so that whatever impurities on the surface of the murti, which is invariably granite. Incidentally, granite is the second hardest substance known after diamond, and working with the granite is especially difficult. And this skill is very pronounced in some of the states in Tamil Nadu, in India, especially in the south of India, Dakshina Bharatam, and especially in Tamil Nadu. I have extensively studied the lineages of the sculptors who are called sthapatis in southern India, and discovered that the best work that one can expect in India comes from the southern part, in Tamil Nadu at the moment. There were 36 different sthapatis whose families I investigated to see how far they have been in the business. And in some cases, 14 generations of sthapatis have been there. So you know that it is well entrenched. Now, when they perform the Abhishekam, the purificatory Abhishekam is done usually behind closed doors, where they use Panchagavyam. We saw what the Panchagavyam materials were, with cow dung, cow urine, milk, curd or yogurt, and ghee. This Panchagavyam, they should perform the Abhishekam before opening the doors to the public, and there is a puja for the Panchagavyam to be performed before they pour it on the murti. So they are all purificatory murtis, and the cow is supposed to be the home of all. Muppadu Mukkoti Devaru. Muppadu Mukkoti. So 33 crores of deities are there, according to a particular agama. All the deities are there. All of divinity is present in the cow. And therefore, it is considered to be an absolutely pure, selfless animal. This is why the Panchagavyam is used. And the Panchagavyam, after the Panchagavyam has been used, you have to use again Suddhodakam or pure water and wash the murti down. Now, usually the guardians of the temple and the guardians of the murti, the Mula Murti, sometimes in some temples, in important temples that I have noticed, is not accessible to all the priests in the temple. There is something called a murai, which literally translates to being turn. So if there are about 25 priests in the temple, there is a turn taken by everyone, and when the turn comes, they go in to the sanctum to perform the puja. This is very pronounced in a temple like Chidambaram. So the Murakurukal is allowed to go inside. Now, before we go into Abhishekam, there are certain other temples that contain murtis that cannot be, you cannot be anointed. That means they cannot be washed. Two such examples. One is in Rameshwaram, in the Ramanatha Swami temple, where the Shivalingam that was made by no less a personality than Sita is still there, out of sand. So being Mattikam or river sand, that Shivalingam cannot be, you cannot perform Abhishekam to it, because if you pour the water, it will melt, it will disappear. The second such temple is in Kanchipuram, in the Kamakshi temple. Around in that area, there is an ancient Shiva temple called Ekambareshwarar Amra mango. In that tree, there's an ancient mango tree, which is, the old one is no more, but a sprout that has begun from the roots of the temple, or from the roots of the old tree, is now growing. It produces four types of fruit every season. And it is equated to the four Vedas. And there is the Utsava Murti or a Murti there called Somaskanda Murti. But in the Mula Vigraham, in the Garbhagraham, the statue or the Shivalingam was made by the Devi herself when she was performing penance on the banks of the Pampa Nadi, the river, Pampa river. And Shiva, playfully trying to test the Devi, caused the river to flood. And the Devi, afraid of the flood waters would wash the Shivalingam away, embraced it. And that Shivalingam is still there. It is only anointed with perfumed oil and punuhu, the perfume that is obtained from the thigh muscles of a cat. It is anointed. Abhishekam is not performed. So the question may arise, how do they purify them? They don't need any purification. Just because the Devi herself made that Shivalingam, it will remain pure for all of eternity. You don't need to purify it. You don't need to clean the thing. Of course, the flowers and the other ornamentation and the garlands that are placed on it and the bilva leaves, they have to be periodically removed, and they're very careful with how they do it. So now, after the Panchagavya Abhishekam has taken place, we saw also that usually in Shiva temples, the Abhishekam is supposed to be for 24 minutes. Why that 24-minute time frame was instituted, I have still not discovered. I am still researching it. And in some Shiva temples, they say it will come up to 48 minutes, and that is allowed. And there are exceptional circumstances, things like Ardra Darshanam in Chidambaram, where the Abhishekam can go on for 4, 5, 6 hours at a stretch. So I suppose there are localized traditions that have been created. Now, after the Abhishekam is done, Suddhodakam, pure water, perfumed water. The Abhishekam is to be performed with a kalasam. Abhishekam is to be performed with a kalasam. Usually, the kalasam is installed in a place, an elevated platform called the Vedikai, and a homam is performed. Puja is performed first to the kalasam, and then a homam is performed to magnetize the water in the kalasam. And then the kalasam is worshipped and then picked up and taken usually in procession around the temple and poured on the murti. That becomes the last ritual in the Abhishekam sequence. Now, we also saw last time the arrangement, how the Abhishekam materials are to be arranged in the beginning. If we can go to the slide where it shows what of the dravyams are to be placed in which direction, the Abhishekam is to be prepared that way, and this is the formation that they have shown. It says, spread a white cloth, spread rice on top of the white cloth, place the milk in the center. In the Uttara, that is north, place honey. In the Dakshina, south, ghee. In the Paschima, west, unrefined sugar or shakara. In the Purva or east, yogurt. In the Vayus Konam, mangoes. That is northwest mangoes. In this case, they crushed it and it is like in a pulpy form. In the Nairidi, jackfruit. In Agni, banana. Again, it has been crushed here. Ishanya, fragrant dravya tirtham. Fragrant dravya tirtham is in the east. Now, you will see in that, when you see it, the water is not clear. That is because it has been infused with quite a good quantity of saffron in the water and other spices and herbs. So this is the way it is to be set up, and I am sure Panchopacharam has to be done to the Abhisheka Dravyams before one takes it down, before one is able to take the thing and Abhishekam is to be performed. So this is the way that they have arranged the Abhisheka Dravyams. This is the way it is done in our temple. Now, sometimes 18 or 19 different articles are used for the dravyams are used for the Abhishekam. The list is quite extensive. I will read some of them. Fragrant oil, rice flour. We saw how they mixed rice flour with yogurt so that the caking, the dravyams become caked. If regular Abhishekam is not performed and adequate care is taken to clean the crevices and the subtle irregular shapes that are there on the murti, it will get into into those corners, into those places, into those spaces, and become caked, and it has to be regularly cleaned. Otherwise, it will dry up and it will be very difficult to clean it up afterwards. So the rice flour is mixed with yogurt and left overnight, and the next morning it is washed. It is washed clean with water. Now this sequence can go before, it has to go before the Abhishekam. Now, Tirumanjanam Dravya powder. Now, Tirumanjanam is the bathing of the deity. And the Dravya powder, there are now various traditions. Of course, the Agamas give you a list of them. And the Vaishnava Agamas, they will give you a list. Shakta Agamas will give you a list. And most of these things, they are interchangeable, because sometimes one particular dravyam will not be available, either because it is not the season or either because of the geographical location where the temple is located. So the dravya powder can be made in the temple, provided all the raw materials are there. Now, what we use in our temple is an extensively researched list containing the Akshara Malika powder. And number 2, we have Nakshatra Mandala powder. 3, the dravyams that were told by the embodiment of Sri Akhilandeshwari, Srimati Madhyoli Saraswati, who gave us the proportions and the amounts to be added, the list that she gave. So we have a choice of 3 materials. The Nakshatra Mandala powders are, we have at some time or the other, in the next class, I will show you the actual trees from where the material has come. So each nakshatram has a particular tree. Taru, maybe the tree itself, we have photographs of them, and it will tell you what portion, what part of that tree is to be used. So we have that. That powder was provided some years ago, and we have quite a quantity of it up to 2021. I think we are run out of it. Then the other one is called Akshara Mulika. Akshara Mulika. That means the 58 letters of the Sanskrit alphabet. Each letter has a mulika. Mulika is a herb. And churnam powder. The last time we looked, between Pondicherry and Chennai, in the forests in that area, all of them can be found. I have no idea whether they are available now, because it has been a few years since we were able to import some of them. Properly treated and properly treated so that no pests would come over to this part of the world. It has been fumigated and certified and sealed. And then permission was obtained from the customs service and it was imported here. Those can be added. Those also can be added to the dravyams that we use in the homam. So the Akshara Mulika homam, the Abhisheka Churnam, Abhisheka Dravyam, that can contain all of that, will contain all of them. and it is effective. And if you remember the earlier lectures where we said that the insides of the kalasams have to be cleaned, because it will encourage the oligodynamic effect and the gradual migration of the ionized particles to the center and to the edge, and it will circulate inside the liquid, and the water that is inside the kalasam, which is called an amardam, will become magnetized. So, can we go back to the list again, please? The Abhishekam, the list of materials, again, I notice in recent years is a choice of the priests who are there. Or if an outside priest has been brought in for special occasions like a Jirnodharana Kumbhabhishekam or Punaruddharana Kumbhabhishekam or Samprokshana Kumbhabhishekam, Pratishthabhana Kumbhabhishekam, so many of them, or the Brahmotsavam, it falls the chief priest who is going to handle all of this will give you a list, will give the management of the temple a list, and they will find out whether they can get them. So that is how the Tirumanjana Dravya powder is used. Sometimes in India, in Chennai, a place called Mylapore, there are two places where you can buy this. They are both called Sri Vidya stores. In the Sri Vidya stores, these are available. And you can go and purchase Abhishekha Dravyam, Abhishekha Podi. They will give you that. Then number 4 is being mentioned as Panchagavyam, mixture of cow's milk, cow's dung, cow urine, cow yogurt. We saw about this. The 5th one, it's not in any particular order, I gather, because these were obtained from other websites. You will see Panchamrutam is mentioned. Now, Pancha means 5. Amrutam means rare liquids. The nectar is obtained from this. Usually, Panchamrutam will mean milk, yogurt, ghee, honey, fruit juice, and jaggery. This is the Rasa Panchamrutam ingredients. You will notice that they can be in our temple every Saturday when the Abhishekam takes place. We use this for Abhishekam to be performed, and usually right now, up to now, the devotees who are sponsored the puja are permitted, and devotees who come to the temple are permitted to do the Abhishekam themselves. It is a rare phenomenon because in no standard temple will the devotees be allowed to go into the sanctum. But our temple, because it is built on tantric lines, the function is a little different. And when we go into the granite temple, things may become a little more restrictive because of the rules of the agamic temple. Anyway, this is called Rasa Panchamrutam. Now, it also says the ingredients are mixed with water, infused with fragrant items like cardamom, etc. Cardamom seems to be a standard perfumed item that is used in the tirtham or in the water, in the nectar. Usually added into the dravyam, Abhishekha Dravyam. Now, a second type of Abhishekha Panchamrutam is called Phala Panchamrutam. With Rasa Panchamrutam, ingredients add the following. Mukkani, mango. Mukkani means 3 types of fruit. Moondru is 3. Mukkani, mango, jackfruit, banana. Ma, pala, kadali. And second one, it says other fruits, which means you can add other fruits as you desire, with some exceptions. There are some exceptions of fruits that you cannot use for Abhishekam or as Naivedyam. One of them is pineapple. You don't use that. The second one is papa. Papaya cannot be used. You cannot use it for Naivedyam, means you cannot use it for Abhishekam also. And mukkani, mango, jackfruit and banana are usually available in India. In most parts of India throughout the year, you can use it. And other fruits. There used to be a practice in our temple where we always mention the name of the fruit before it is offered. Dadimapalam samarpayami, pomegranate. Amrapalam samarpayami, mango. Panasapalam samarpayami, jackfruit. Right? Kadali palam samarpayami, banana. Now, there are fruits that are not native to India. Then if you don't know the names of the fruits that are not native to India, a good example is peaches. Apple is not native to India. It has been brought in. Apple has got a name. It's called Prabhopedavalam. Peaches is called, there's a general term for the names of fruits that are not native to India. They're called Kashmiravalam. Okay, so this mukkani, Rasapanchamrutam, other ingredients are, see, milk, yogurt, ghee, jaggery, and honey. But the milk and yogurt should be used sparingly, because the acid from the fruit, when you pour it, just like mango and especially mango, it will curdle the milk. So you have to be careful when you make the Panchamrutam. In the North American continent, when mango is not available throughout the year, only one season and maybe for a month we are able to get the mango, what should you do? You are permitted to use the canned variety. You can use the canned variety. Invariably, jackfruit is not available in this part of the world. We end up using the jackfruit from the cans anyway. Of course, it is not fully desirable because it is already been preserved in a liquid, usually of sugar syrup, light sugar syrup, and it will remain, and it is sealed, so it will remain fresh. You can use mango pulp for the Abhishekam, for the Panchamrutam. So, Pala Panchamrutam ingredients, you can mix all of these. Incidentally, when we were little children, we used to go to the temple especially to get Panchamrutam as prasadam. And let me tell you, at that age, when you are 6 or 7 years old, it tasted like nectar. And this Abhishekam is placed, and it is given and taken and given to the devotees. Now, let's quickly run through the other items also. Ghee is there. Usually, in our sequence, we will use Suttodaka Snanam, that means plain water, perfumed, of course, lightly. Then, sometimes we will use Ushnodaka Snanam, lukewarm water, because you don't want the deity to become ice cold. Then Kshira Snanam, milk Abhishekam. Second one, Dadi Snanam, yogurt. And the third item is Ajya Snanam, when you use ghee. Now the ghee will flow into the crevices of the murti, and in the small crevices, it will fill the space up. The next Abhishekam is Madhu Snanam. You offer honey. The honey, as we saw earlier, is a little bit detrimental for the murtis if it is granite. Many years of using ghee, using honey as an Abhishekam material can cause the stone in the murti to deteriorate. So you see, when the ghee goes in there, it is oily and it will form a protective layer when the Abhishekam is done. Only the essential parts where the Abhishekam, where the murti is very smooth, the Abhishekam, the honey will not do anything. So the honey, and after that, sugar. That is not the refined sugar that we buy in stores. The jaggery, country jaggery, it is called country sugar. That country jaggery is dissolved and offered in the water, in the Abhishekam. Then Phalodakam, orange or lemon water is used. That again, see, if there are some other items that are caked in there, things like turmeric and others, it will cut through that. That acid that is there, ascorbic acid, citric acid, will cut through there and then clean the murti. After the murti has been anointed like this, they have said lemon juice, orange juice. Then sometimes lemon juice is used, other times orange juice is used. Right? And tangerine juice is used. If you notice, these three citrus fruits have descending, reducing quantities of citric acid in them. Lemon or lime juice has most quantity, especially the limes with the green variety, limes of the green variety. And orange is a little less. The one they call Mosambi is the green orange that we buy in India, that has more citric acid. The navel orange that we buy here in this part of the world, the citric acid content is less. The more the citric acid in the juice, the orange juice will be tart. Tangerine has the least. So, you know, even there they have some order. Then mixed fruits. I don't see any difference between the mixed fruit Abhishekam and the Panchamrutam Abhishekam. They are the same. And even in the Panchamrutam Abhishekam, you notice they add honey also. But that honey is not just pure honey, it is mixed in with all the other things. Then tender coconut water. The idea of using that is to perform Abhishekam with water that has not been touched by sunlight. All other sources of water, when you try to get it, it comes from some place where the sunlight has fallen on it. In the coconut juice, in the coconut water, it has not touched it. So you open the coconut at that point, just before the Abhishekam, and then pour it on the deity. Then cooked rice done in Shivalaya during Aipasi Purnima. Aipasi is a month, and that Purnima, there is something that they perform in Shivalayas called Annabhishekam. Cooked rice is offered to the deities. And this Abhishekam is performed with cooked rice, and it is covered. The Shivalingam is completely covered with this. And it is then distributed to the people. Then Vibhuti Abhishekam. The Vibhuti Abhishekam, done for Shivalingam, Ayyappan, Murugan, and the Devi too. The Shivalingam Abhishekam, Vibhuti Abhishekam, can take place in a different form. We will look at something at the end of this in a couple of minutes. You will know what it is. And then Chandanam, it is called Kalabasnanam. Usually, the Kalabasnanam, that is, after you use Chandanam, sandalwood, nicely mixed and to mix to a proper consistency where it can be poured, but it should not run streaks. It should be a uniform covering on the murti. Usually after that, they do not perform other abhishekams. And the chandanam, in the chandanam is mixed with rose water, usually. That's also perfumed. Then after that, the 19th one is Conch Tirtham, Abhishekam from a Shankam. Now, there are temples, including ours, that perform Shankabhishekam. This Shankabhishekam is performed with water held inside a conch. Usually there are 108 or 1008 or sometimes multiples of 108 they will use. It is used with a left-handed Shankar. We are lucky that the Devi has blessed us with well over 1,000 right-handed Shankams, which are considered to be very rare. Dakshinavritti Shankam is very rare, and we are blessed to have that. And a particular Tirtham is mixed. Just like we mix the Tirtham for the Abhishekam, for the Chandanam, for the Shankabhishekam also, Tirtham is mixed. While the chanting of Shanka Gayatri goes on, the people who are working, right? Panjajanyaya Vidmahe. Anyway, Shanka Tirthaya Vidmahe Panjajanyaya Dhimahi Tanno Shanka Prachodayat. That mixture is usually the same Abhisheka Tirumanjanam Dravya powder that is added to the water. In addition, each Shankam, if possible, should have Navaratnam, a Bilvam, if it is Shivalayam, Tulasi, if it is Vishnu. It does not matter. You can add Tulasi for Shiva too. Then a lotus, couple of lotus flowers, and some pieces of Dharma grass are to be added. And puja is to be performed to that whole vyuham or formation of Shankams. After that, it is to be taken and Abhishekam is performed individually to the Shankam. And in the water of the Shankam, all the Varuna Kalas are installed, Surya Kalas are installed, and at least 21 sacred rivers that flow in India are also added in that. In the sense, in the mantric form, those are added. The sequence will go Ganga Janamaha, Yamuna Janamaha, Saraswati Namaha, Sindhave Namaha, and so on and so forth. Now, the Bhasma Abhishekam, I told you we will look at that. We have a video for you. It is from Madhya Pradesh, one of the Jyotirlingams. If you go to that temple, if you are a man, you have to wear a dhoti in the form of a Panchamrutam. You cannot wrap it around you and go, they won't let you in. If you are a lady, even if you come from the northernmost parts of India, you cannot wear a kurta and pajama. They will ask you, you're Indian, aren't you? Why aren't you in a sari? You have to wear a sari. They're very strict about it. I was surprised. And the males have to go bare-bodied inside the temple. This happens at 3:30 in the morning, early morning. And the priests will start to perform the Abhishekam. Can we run the video, please? Why don't we go to the beginning? We should go to the beginning, because there are other things that I need to talk about in the Abhishekam. This is Mahakaleshwar Temple in Ujjain, Madhya Pradesh.
बाबा भोलेनाथ की नगरी उज्जैन में आपका स्वागत है। मैं हूं आपका होस्ट हरीश बाली। मेरे साथ इस समय श्री दिनेश दिग्गज जी हैं, जो अंतर्राष्ट्रीय कवि हैं। मैंने सर को रिक्वेस्ट किया हमें श्री महाकालेश्वर टेम्पल की हिस्ट्री के बारे में कुछ इन्फॉर्मेशन दें, साथ में जो मॉर्निंग में आरती होती है उसके बारे में।
जय श्री महाकाल। बाबा भोलेनाथ जन जन में व्याप्त है। भारतीय जनमानस के कण कण में शिव की महत्ता है। सप्तपुरियों में से एक उज्जैनी, जिसके विभिन्न नाम अलग अलग कालखंडों में माने गए हैं, जिसके विभिन्न कालखंडों में अपनी मान्यताएं रही है। बाबा भोलेनाथ की यह नगरी इसलिए भी मान्यता अधिक रखती है कि हमारी जनश्रुतियों में, हमारे वेद पुराण में यह कहा गया है, सबसे पावन यात्रा चारों धाम की मानी जाती है। चारों धाम की यात्रा करने के बाद भी उसका यथोचित फल तभी प्राप्त होता है जब हम बाबा भोलेनाथ की इस नगरी में आकर भगवान शिव का ध्यान कर लेते हैं, भगवान शिव का पूजन अर्चन कर लेते हैं। तीनों लोकों में, त्रिभुवन में सर्वाधिक प्रतिष्ठा जिस स्वरूप की मानी गई है वो बाबा भोलेनाथ की मानी गई है, महाकाल के स्वरूप में। हम उज्जैन में बाबा भोलेनाथ को जब देखते हैं तो सराहते हैं इस उज्जैन को। जितने श्रद्धालु आरती में शामिल होते हैं वे
you see the devotees lining up to go inside.
यहाँ के
unless you are a security guard in the temple, you are not allowed to go in there with a shirt.
और जब भस्मारती में श्रद्धालु बैठते हैं तो उस अलौकिक आनंद में वो इतने ज्यादा अभिभूत हो जाते हैं कि वे अपने आप को भूल जाते हैं। एक तादाद शुरू होता है आरती का क्रम।
There Abhishekam is going on. If you remember, when we talked about the Abhishekam to the Shivalingam, you have to place a flower on the Shivalingam before you add another dravyam. Without the flower, you are not supposed to perform Abhishekam. And usually they will place a flower garland, which is called indam, on top of the Shivalingam. Now you see various dravyams are being added to the Shivalingam. He has placed the flower. It's ghee. Abhishekam is going on. That's honey. That's all the honey they use. Because this Shivalingam is Swayambhu and it has been there from time immemorial. Shakkaraya snabhayami. Native jaggery is added. Abhishekam is going on. Now, there's milk Abhishekam. You will see an Agori coming into the temple. He is the one who brings, he would have brought a muslin bag completely full of something, full of ash that has been taken from a crematorium. Fresh human ash. At 3:34 in the morning, that ash is applied, or it is, Abhishekam is done with that as the final material. There you see the priest is shaking it over the Shivalingam, and it goes over the Shivalingam and covers the entire space. That is human ash. What he is using, basmam is ash in Hindi and in Sanskrit, and you can see the avudayar or the yonipitam is huge. Bhasma Arati is significant also because it is believed that it is there, no other temple in India. I am told that in Kashi they do it, but it is done at midnight, although nobody has seen it. This Bhasma Arati, in its Agora form, out of the world experience in itself. You see the priest after he has done the Arati is doing Namaskaram and the decorations on it. Now they will do Arati to this Shivlingam. He's dressed up like a king. And the garland of skulls goes around him. It is something else to see, something else to witness when you go to this place. Okay, we will stop here for this week. Let's go on to some of the questions, please. Panjajanyaya Vidmahe Padmagarbhaya Dhimahi Tanno Shankha Prachodayat. These are the arrangements that we have done at various times in our temple of the conches that are there. And in the center, in the far place of the temple where you can see the arrangement, it's arranged like a meru. Okay. Question answers.
During the Punaruddharana Kumbhabhishekam, the energy of Rajarajeshwari was transferred to a kalasham. Is there a limit to the energy that can be transferred to a kalasham?
No, there is no limit. If you limit the energy, that means the Devi is limited. She is an unlimited being. During the Punaruddharana Kumbhabhishekam, the energy was transferred to the kalasham by the use of a silver cord. It was brought in from the sanctum and taken right into the kalasham and onto the homakundam so that both will be charged. That energy is limitless. He says, how long will the energy last in the kalasham? It will last, I am told, from various sources, up to 60 days. In one source, they say 45 days. And within that time, you have to take the kalasham and do the Abhishekam. And the energy is transferred back by doing Abhishekam. Yes, of course. That's the culmination of the Kumbhabhishekam. The energy is transferred back to the Sthula Lingam, which is the Gopuram and the Kalasams there, and the Vimanam, the Kalasam on top of the Vimanam, and the Mula Murti itself. So all are done simultaneously. Next question.
What are the effects of doing Abhishekam with different liquids?
Each liquid has got its own effect. Let me share with you some of them. Water, desires are fulfilled. Fragrant oil gives comfort. Panjagavyam removes all the sins. Panchamrutam, prosperity. Ghee gives moksha. Milk increases one's lifespan. Yogurt gives the wealth of children. Flour removes debt. Honey gives comfort. Fruit Panchamrutam increases wealth. Banana crops will be fertile. Jackfruit, you will be able to conquer the world. Mango adds prosperity to one's son. Pomegranate removes anger. Clementine, Kaunjinarate, removes sadness. Tangerine brings orderliness. Lemon removes fear of death. jaggery removes enmity. Tender coconut juice gives happiness. Cooked rice gives the ability to rule the world. Chandanam gives Lakshmi Kataksham, infinite wealth, and so on and so forth. So there are a whole list of them that are given. We have so far seen 21. There's a list of about 37 different items that are there. So we will go through that next time. There. See, 21 is tender coconut juice, children. Sugarcane juice, knowledge of Shastras. Fragrant dravyam, long life. Turmeric powder, control over rulers. Dried gooseberry powder, good health, removes diseases. Cooked rice, development of the country. Kasturi, victory. Gorochana, Japa Siddhi, Siddhi in Japam. Vibhuti, knowledge. Edible camphor, removes fear. Cardamom, prosperity, wealth, heavenly happiness. Rose water, prosperous life. Abhishekam with right-handed conch, removes misfortune and bad karma. Gold, detachment, vairagyam. Sahasratare, profit. Kalasa Abhishekam, benefit of having performed Ashwamedha Yajna. And flowers, happiness. So these are the benefits of different Abhisheka Dravyams. If you desire, you may download whatever that is there on the website. Whatever these slides are, you can download them. Do we have time for another question? Yes, we do.
Why do we put vastrams on deities when performing Abhishekam?
Because the people are watching the deities. You are going to treat the deities exactly the way you would treat a human being while he is being or she is being bathed in public. You have to drape the deities with a vastram as a mark of respect. Next question.
Can anyone do Abhishekam to a murti at home, or should it only be the members that are from that house?
Usually it is only the members of that house. Just like a temple, if you go there, no, forget our temple, ours is different. In a proper agamic temple, only the priests are allowed to do the Abhishekam and only that Murai priest for that day. So you have to give the same respect to the deities at home. Only the members in the house. Unless somebody like Kanchi Paramacharya walks into your house and wants to do Abhishekam, then of course it's a blessing to have somebody like that perform Abhishekam. Otherwise, only members of the household. Next.
Is there a specific Naivedyam to be offered during Abhishekam?
During Abhishekam or after the Abhishekam is done?
I think in both cases. So first, during Abhishekam, is there a specific Naivedyam?
The usual, the Naivedyam that is to be performed, you don't, when you're performing Abhishekam, in between dravyams, you can, if you have visited the temple during Kulutti, couple of bananas will be offered every time the Abhishekam is done. Bananas and tambulam, betel leaves are offered. But after the main Abhishekam, all the dravyams have been exhausted and the kalasam has also been used for the Abhishekam. What is to be offered to the deity is cooked rice with ghee and tur dal. That is called Mahanaivedyam. That is to be offered. Does the Naivedyam change based on the deity? Usually not. But there are temples I have visited where they will do the Abhishekam, and for the Abhishekam they will give sweet rice, chakaranna. So that also is allowed, I believe. But the preferred one is the Mahanaivedya. Next question.
Why do we offer yogurt rice after alankaram?
In a Shiva temple, Shiva is supposed to be Dadhyanna Sakta Hridaya, Dadhyanna Saktam, he likes it. So usually for yogurt, for Shiva, also to cool that energy down from the Shivalingam, yogurt rice is given. Yogurt is supposed to cool the body. That is the reason yogurt rice is given. We'll stop here for this week. We hope to see you next week. Thank you.
Thank you, Ayya, for taking the time to share the wealth of knowledge you have about Abhishekam. We're very eager to hear more about your teachings in the upcoming sessions. Just a reminder to everyone, to access all content from prior sessions, please visit srividya.org/AYM-lectures. As a reminder, we will not be having yoga for today's session. Thank you again, everyone, for joining us for today's session.